Hello, my name is Quinn and I am trans and I have a chronic illness, so transitioning has been a little bit wonky. Getting top surgery was a very long process, but it happened and I'm happy, and I have a couple stories of when things went wrong. I recorded the first story prior to surgery, so I was a little bit panicky, and I'm sure that in those clips it sounds like I'm upset at the clinic, but I promise I'm not. I'm just autistic and I can't regulate facial expressions when I'm stressed. Regardless, it's a funny story, so enjoy. Despite the fact that the surgeon's office has known that I have a type of basal ganglia encephalitis for 6 months, they didn't start looking into it until like 3 weeks prior to surgery. Last Thursday, I was waiting for my virtual meet and greet with the surgeon before I get a call that's like, hey, we have to cancel this meet and greet because we have to check with the anesthesiologist that you can actually have anesthesia because of your basal ganglia blah blah blah. If you can't pronounce it right, then clearly you know nothing about it. And I had to specify, it's not just basal ganglia encephalitis, it's a specific type of basal ganglia encephalitis known as PANS. So of course I'm panicking, because what if they just deny me surgery because I'm disabled? So they reschedule why do I have these in? I don't know why I have those in. They rescheduled the meet and greet until next week, and then I had a call literally the next day saying I've been cleared for anesthesia, and it's like, well, yeah, I figured. Because I've been under before. It says it right there in my notes. Why are we all confused? Regardless, another call on the Monday during a therapy appointment. By the way, I picked the phone up when I'm in the middle of a therapy appointment. And they're like, can you send us your diagnostic note? And it's like, why do you need it? Are you kidding me? Like, why do you need a diagnostic note when you know what the condition is and I've already been cleared? Also, I don't have one. But I go to my doctor anyway to ask for a diagnostic note, and she says, yeah, sure, I'll fill one out for $60. Okay. In hindsight, I should have just asked why they needed my diagnosis in the first place. She gets the note back to me quite quickly, thank goodness. And then I send it to the surgeon's office, and then I get a reply, like, quite quickly. Like, okay, you're cleared for surgery. Why did you need the diagnostic note then? I'm still baffled by that part. Like, why did they need that? That feels completely unnecessary. And you think that after going through that like several times with like 3 different people that we'd have this figured out by now, that I am cleared for surgery. It's fine. But I have the meet and greet with the surgeon. The first thing she asks about is basal ganglia encephalitis. In hindsight, I don't think the mispronunciation was that bad, but it was still throwing me off because she was saying basal ganglial encephalitis instead of basal ganglia. So my best guess is that somebody wrote it down wrong initially, and that's why everyone at the clinic was pronouncing it incorrectly. Anyway, she starts asking all these questions about my condition. It's like, I've been through this already. I'm already cleared by both my doctor and the anesthesiologist. What's left to discuss? So I kind of lied to her and said my life was not impacted on the daily by this condition when it most definitely is. I said that flares are only triggered with infections, and she's like, well, doesn't surgery count as an infection? I'm like, well, only if I get an infection. I wasn't that sassy with her, I promise. She asked me when my last flare was, and I'm like, yesterday. That's a joke. It was not yesterday. It was a while ago, but regardless. I said it happened 2 years ago, which, that's definitely not the most recent, but my flares happen more on the frequent side, but I think like my most major one that I've had in a while was 2 years ago, so it wasn't entirely a lie. I wasn't trying to be a lying liar, it's just I was woken up at 8:45 by a phone call telling me that this meet and greet was happening right now, even though that wasn't like the scheduled time. I normally wake up at 11 because chronically ill. So I was tired, okay, and hadn't eaten anything. I couldn't really think properly. Regardless, don't lie to your doctors, okay? Like, don't do what I did. And after all of that, after waiting an entire week because they decided to cancel this meet and greet, I meet this doctor for like 3 minutes before she signs off. And I did have questions. I just couldn't think of them in that moment because I was sleep deprived. It's fine. It's probably gonna be okay. I'm trying not to stress about it. It's fine. So that's your warning. If you are chronically ill trying to get top surgery, there might be some questions. I think in my case, it was quite obvious that no one at the clinic had even heard of my condition, which was probably why they were panicking, because they're like, what do we do with this? It's fine. I'm cleared, so it's fine. Another thing you might want to know if you are disabled and getting top surgery, specifically if you have chronic pain. So they give you pain meds for after surgery, and I was very inconsistent with taking them. I took them the first day, and then I don't think I took them the second day because they made me really nauseous on the first day. I used like Tylenol and Advil, like I think on day 2 and in the beginning of day 3, just because I didn't want to have the nausea again. But I did end up taking like the big pain med that they gave me. I don't remember what it was called, but I took that to sleep by the end of day 3. And then I had a panic attack because I stopped feeling all pain, including like my chronic pain. It was gone, and I was like, am I dying? What's happening? So like maybe be mentally prepared for that. Just possibly, because until I clocked that that's what happened, I spent the entire day in an anxiety attack. Like my heart was racing the entire day because I thought that something else was wrong. It's really silly in hindsight, but yeah, that's what happened. And while I'm here are a couple other funny stories that relate to getting ready for top surgery that are not related to being chronically ill. So in case you didn't know, when you get top surgery, the clinic needs to have your before photos, and the clinic I went to asked for me to send them via email. So yeah, I had to take pictures of myself. I turned off my Wi-Fi in order to do this because like I did not want to accidentally get this leak. Not that it really mattered, because by the time that people find them, that's not going to be my body anymore. But anyway, I did in fact implement airplane mode and then did some wires. Not the point, not the funny part. So I sent it via email along with a couple other things. But the person that I was like communicating with never replied. So after a week, I was getting a little nervous because they needed to have these photos by a certain date and we were approaching said date. So I emailed again with the same photos, and I still didn't get a response. So from my perspective, what it feels like is that I sent nudes and then got ghosted. As an Arrow Ace person, this is highly amusing. I never heard back from that one person, like ever, so I did end up having to call them to be like, hey, did you get my nudes? I did not use that phrasing, to be clear. And they're like, oh yeah, we got it, don't worry. Then why didn't you tell me that? It would have been nice to know that. Another story of things going wrong before surgery. So my clinic had sent the prescription for a pain med and an anti-nausea med to a local pharmacy. The clinic faxed the prescription on like October 3rd, and I hadn't heard back from the pharmacy in many weeks. So I called them. They said they hadn't received anything. So that was a problem. I called the clinic, so they faxed it again, and then they faxed it like a third time. I'm not remembering the reason why. But a couple days goes by, and I still haven't heard anything from the pharmacy, even though they said that they were going to call me when they got the fax. So I call them, and they're like, yeah, no, we have it ready. You can come pick it up now. I'm like, well, then why didn't you tell me that? You could have called me. So I go to pick it up. And it's like, whoa, okay, we can check that off the list. That's done. This was like less than a week before surgery, by the way. But then, 15 minutes before the pharmacy closes, I get a call. We gave you the wrong medication. I'm sorry, what now? I live 10 minutes away from this pharmacy, so I didn't even bother putting a binder back on before getting out the door so I could get there before they closed in 15 minutes. I asked why they messed it up, and he's like, the name was similar. Okay. Yeah, it's been an experience. Top surgery was an experience, yeah. But it all worked out in the end. So, I hope that gave you a good laugh. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say, so goodbye.